some of those very special people. So my name is Steph, and I used to live over yonder. And I used to walk past this land. And it looked very different. Once, in a time that was, and was not, a time of great change, there was a town that was not too big, not too small, with a river running through it, and a steep, steep hill with a castle on the top. But going out beyond, there was yet another steep hill, which many of you, if you've walked it, will know just how it gets the back of your legs. And when you get to the top of that very steep hill, you come to the mighty lands that, well, I was going to tell you the name of this place. It's very difficult to be sure. For some tell us the name of this place means the curved valley. Others tell us it was the dwellers on the hill. Yet others say it was the place of the wild boar. And some say it meant thyme or rosemary or even messengers of great blessing. Well, I say perhaps it's every single one of those, or has been. We don't have any wild boar, I don't think. Over yonder, as I was telling you where I used to live, there's a community of singers. Well, they're much more than that, of course, but singing is one of the things they are very, very good at. And within that community, there were 3 people at the beginning who looked at this land a little bit more than everybody else. And they were called he of steady determination, she of great vision, and she of passion and drive. And they looked and they looked and they looked at the farm that surrounded them. I wish it could be different. Maybe it can. Do you think if it ever came up for sale, well, could we buy it? Well, the land heard them. This land here. And I have a feeling it liked what it heard. And so, not very moons later, a large board was erected outside the farmhouse for sale. Well, this was their chance. He of steady determination, she of great vision, and she of passion and drive. 3 million gold pieces. That's a little bit more than we've got in our pouches and pockets. But it can't be impossible, can it? After all, we bought yonder house once upon a time. So, they gathered together and they spread the story far and wide across the town, across the land, aye, and across the oceans too. And little by little, those gold pieces began to pour into the coffers. And not 3 moons later, if I have my story right, 3 million golden pieces were in that pot, handed to farmers that were, handed over to Bowden Pillar's future. Well, they didn't do it alone, of course, because nothing of any import is ever done alone, is it not? She of passion and drive, who was such a force at the beginning, needed to step back a while. But in her place, he of steadfast loyalty and faith stepped up to join the merry band. And then, of them all, who put some money in the pot and joined them too. And there was the quiet poetess, who had so much more about her than simply that, although that was special enough. And she's not here today, but I'm sure you've all met the wild food dynamo, who runs across this project through village and farmland and nature. Wherever she walks, magic happens. You may have foraged with her. You may have seen her organise a meeting or 10. You may have seen her speak of the story of this place far and wide in magazines and in person. Well, she put some golden copper pieces into the pot for the farmhouse, and gathered around her the farm dwellers, and they became part of this place. But that wasn't all, because he of steady determination knew he couldn't do his very special job of designing and planning and creating without another very special person. She of quiet determination and great flair, who joined because she knew with all her heart that community was the place to be, and had searched for it far and wide, across the lands, across the ocean, through the great capital of this land, until she found herself here to help this project. There were more people too. There was she who knits community, because without the person that brings people together, well, nothing would happen at all. The she who holds the big question in her hands for all of us. And there were more. There was a rather special gentleman. We'll call him the excited historian, although he's much, much, much more than that, because if something needs doing, he'll be there first. So there were so many people that came together to make this project happen. And you wouldn't be sitting here today now if those people hadn't put hundreds and thousands of hours into the love of a project that would encompass, one day, an eco-village, a native forest you're sitting amongst it right now, the beginnings of, and a farmland to produce food, not only for the village, but wider, a market garden, perhaps to replace the market garden that once upon a time, the town that was not too big and not too small, it had a market garden. Some of you will know it's now called Car Park. But here, there will be space for a new market garden. And still, with all those people I've told you about, it still isn't quite enough, because we needed those who tend trees. You can see some of them here, the trees that is, not the people. 17,000 native trees have been planted upon this land. And other parts have been left to nature to regenerate. And another storyteller we have here, who you've heard from already, the wild teller of nature, who told you of the elder. And she holds the piece, how the wild speaks to us. And there's another storyteller too. We call him the great storyteller of eco-nurseries. And he is part of a co-pollination that's happening over there, if I've got my directions right, where 6 new projects have emerged as if from the ground this year. So as well as the great storyteller of the nursery, we also have the Tomato King, who tells us he grows neglectable tomatoes. And we have the tea growers, the queen of Asian vegetables, they of wildflower magic, and the hydroponic guru. And if you haven't met them yet, there will be times to hear their story and to take part, because over there, in their 1 acre apiece, not only will they be growing, but they'll be teaching. So if you want to learn how to grow a neglectable tomato, or how a seed can start off in water and not soil, those are the people who know. And so, we are at one of the most exciting moments of Bowden illustration. Because she of quiet determination, and he of steady determination, and the excited historian, and the quiet poetess, and so many more people here, been working away, quietly, as all good things are, hidden, as a seed is hidden. But it doesn't mean nothing's happening. So we might have gone quiet, but we have been busy. And you all passed, before the wild nature storyteller took us through the woods, you've all passed the remains of an old farm, some farm buildings. You've seen the concrete floor and the corrugated roofs, and maybe thought how that sits beside the wood. Well, we've got plans, but I'm not going to spoil the secret, because in a little while we're going to visit this place, and we're going to hear from she of quiet determination just what we have got planned. And I know that some of you here probably know something already, and maybe you have a dream in your heart of being part of an eco-village, nestling in this land, surrounded and cosseted by wild native woodland, regenerative meadow, and food you've grown yourself. And some of you may be new, and need still to hear of how this will be. And so my story is drawing to a close now. But it isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's really only the beginning. So when we leave this circle, I'm going to ask you to walk in silence and be in your heart and not your head. Because sometimes well, I don't know about you, but mine argue. You ever had that? When your heart argues with your head? Mine do. I'd like you to be in your heart, and I want you to feel what you would love to have in this project. There's lots of plans already, but feel into what's important for you. Do you want to live? Do you think? And if you do, what does that look like? And what, in your wildest imagination, do your neighbours look like? Maybe they're beetles, or maybe they're elders, or young people. Maybe, we hope, it will be a mixture of all of those things. And maybe, who knows, some of those villages are sitting here right now in this circle. Like you. And so, we are going to walk in silence back down the track where the wild storyteller led us. We're going to stop at that old farm building, and you're going to hear a little bit more about the project. And then if you're interested, later you can come back here, because we've got a rather special thing we're going to do with this magical installation. So thank you for listening.